So we'll have to do an after action and. Okay, looks like we might be there. Welcome, family. Welcome, welcome. Janae, are you there? Are you on Facebook and such?
Checking. Yep.
Wonderful. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me yet again. So it's so interesting that we have this topic on stress. Woo! You see, I put it all in capital letters because because it's just that heavy kind of a thing. And I'm going to share you my story about what happened today, and then I want to share with you just some tips I feel will be helpful on managing stress. There is no doubt that this pandemic has put us all in a very unique situation, very, very unique situation. And truly it is testing every part of us, psychologically, mentally it's testing us because we are in such a circumstance where we don't know what's coming next. We're trying to figure out how to position ourselves. That's stressful. Physically, our normal routine of doing things, whether you were exercising or you weren't exercising, just your ability to come and go at your leisure has been tested, causing stress. And so we're all facing all these things, our psychological, our physical, spiritually. Boy, I tell you, if you didn't pray before, this might be a good time to go ahead and start. So what happened with me today, I said, we're doing a session on stress, and it just so happens that this is a day where I encountered lots of stress. Lots of stress. I was getting a delivery from a gentleman who was bringing me my groceries, and as I was accepting the delivery from him, my cell phone fell to the ground. Yeah, I don't have a cell phone anymore. So you were, yeah, I know, Deborah. I know. I don't have a cell phone anymore. The whole screen cracked. So the funny thing, but not funny because I'm being sarcastic. The interesting thing about it is I have dropped that cell phone so many times. So I said to myself, why are you choosing today to break? But that's what happens. That's what stress does to us. The unexpected comes even when you have all the best laid plans in place. Something comes that is unexpected, right? Something comes that is so unexpected. But I'm gonna tell you this. Y'all ready for this? If you're ready for this, I need you to raise your hand. I need you to drop a message on Facebook. I need you to do something to tell me that you are ready for what I'm about to share with you. I see there are more and more people who are joining us, and I'm so excited that there are more people coming and joining us. So keep coming on in. We're on Zoom, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. So this is exciting. Hi, Ingrid. Hi, Joanne. It's so good to see you ladies joining us. I was just about to unveil, hey. I was just about to unveil my super, super secret about how stress is affecting us and what I know that you know, but you may not understand it as intimately. You got what you need already to handle this. I need you to think about that for a minute. You have it, you got it. You have what you need to work through this process because you have spent years adding tools to your toolbox. And because you haven't been using those tools as often, it feels like they're not there. But I promise you, they are there because when you are pressed and stressed, somehow, some way, you start digging in that box and you find those tools and you pull on them. And it's just that we're not exercising those tools as we normally would or because it's a different situation. We're in a unique situation that's causing us to pull on skills that we don't have to use on a daily basis. So our time here together, I want to share with you just 7 things I want you to think about. And you can pick and choose. It's a smorgasbord. So you decide which things work best for you. And then you add to the list if you need to, because everyone's process is going to be different. So when I was writing 3 Sides of Every Crisis, and I say that it's a holistic 360 approach to how we are dealing with this COVID-19, whether you are an entrepreneur, a person who runs a business, a person who works within an organization, you're a career professional. And then the last piece, of course, was really important to me because it is about taking care of you. If you don't take care of you in this process, whenever COVID lifts, moves, shifts, whatever COVID-19 does, you've got to be ready and in place to deal with what's going to be new. So I know many of us say we're getting ready for the new normal. I call it the next new normal, because life is always presenting these situations that causes us to deal with a set of new circumstances, a new normal, the adjusting to a different environment. So you have what's necessary. You have what you need in your toolbox so that you can utilize those resources to be able to get through. So here are some 7 things that I want you to think about. Before I start, I see Janae, you have your hand raised. Is there something you want to share with us? Janae?
Not at all. Just saying, hey, what's up?
Okay. All right. She's just saying, hey, that's my daughter. You know, you got to pull on your children and bring them into all the things that you do so they learn the lessons from you and they teach you how to do it better. And she's real good at teaching me how to do it better. So let me begin with 7 things that I want you to think about. Here's the very first one. I need you to guard your thoughts. Guard your thoughts. Pay attention to where your mind is taking you in the midst of this crisis. So I love to say that when we're presented with challenges, it's a matter of looking at those obstacles and turning them into opportunities. So I'm always checking myself every single day and asking myself the questions of, why am I feeling this way? Why am I thinking this way? What's putting pressure on me to make me feel like I have to make a particular choice at this time? Because there are very few things in life that cause you to have to make a decision immediately. So today, when I was receiving my groceries and as I grabbed the box from the gentleman, I was so excited because I got a whole bunch of salmon in there and I'm ready to put some garlic butter on that thing and cook that thing and add some asparagus and throw myself some sweet potatoes on there. Y'all hear me? I was ready for dinner. And then I dropped my phone. And I know I have dropped that phone at least 20 times. And today it chose to crack. I was so frustrated. And I said, look at this. I can't believe this situation is being presented. I'm presenting on stress management today, and now I'm being placed in a stressful situation. But I had to guard my thoughts. And the thing that came to my mind was, today might be a tough day, but I done had so many good days. I done had so many good days that this one day that is trying to test my nerve, you know, the nerve that might be just jiggling a bit in your neck, trying to test my nerve, I have to take control of the situation and choose how I'm going to deal with it. And that's what coronavirus and COVID-19 is doing to us. So we have to guard our thoughts and make sure that we challenge ourselves to maintain a positive attitude through this situation, because that's what's going to help us get over the hump, right? That's what's going to help us recognize that this is a season and it's going to be a short season. Because when you look at your long season of living, mine is 52 long years. This is just one little blip on my screen. One little blip. So I'm going to have to fight through it. I often say when you face a mountain, sometimes you got to go around that mountain. Sometimes you got to climb that mountain. Sometimes you got to get some dynamite and boom, blow that mountain up so that you can charge right on through it. You decide what works for you, but guard your mental state so that you know the thoughts that you have are taking you to a good place. The second thing that I want to share with you is I try very hard to look at how I'm being active, because that's tricky, right? How do we still stay active in an environment where we're asked to self-quarantine? Well, because our lives was one in which we could just come and go freely, our minds are challenged to say, wow, we don't have options. And of course we have options. Before we had this nice touch screen cell phone, we had a push button phone. And before we had that push button phone, y'all remember something that said, da 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 da. Somebody tell me what that is. What am I talking about? Anybody know?
Yeah, that's a dial phone.
Yeah, honey, that's a rotary phone, Joanne. You remember that thing?
The very first one.
Oh boy, I remember.
You couldn't sneak to call nobody on that phone.
You could not. I tried it many times, and my mother caught me trying to call some little boy at about 9 o'clock at night because I wanted to have a little bit of a conversation about the songs I heard playing on WBLS when I was living in New York. So we all remember that, those of us who are of a certain age. My beautiful millennial daughter says, I don't know nothing about that. But she doesn't need to know anything about that. The whole point is everything is a season, and we are equipped with different things based on the circumstances that we face. So when we think in terms of maintaining a good attitude and looking at the activities that we can do that stretch us, then it helps us to reconfigure where we're placing our energy. One thing I started doing during this, and I just like to share my own examples because people will say, you know, well, what did you do? I took singing lessons. Now, I know Joanne is in the background laughing because she has never heard me sing, but when I get through my lessons, I might bless all of y'all with a song in private. I won't do that publicly, but I started taking singing lessons because I needed to make sure that I could find myself in a positive space and do something that was feeding me in a good way. And it was something I always wanted to do, and I just never made time for it. So COVID-19 gave me the time to invest in something that was so beautiful. I'm learning how to breathe and carry my notes. And I remember when I was a young girl, my mother told me, she asked me, what did I want to be when I grow up? And back then, that's when music was music. You know, the music of today is based on the music of back then. So those were the days of the Supremes and Teddy Pendergraphs and all kinds of wonderful groups. And so I wanted to be a singer. And I started belting out a song and I was singing my little heart out. And I looked at my mama and my mama said, baby, you sound nice, but mommy want to make sure that you have another plan too, just in case singing don't work out. And I'm thankful that she told me that, but I never stopped singing because it was something I enjoyed, but this gave me a chance to really learn the art of singing and how to do it, you know, in a positive way that carry the notes. So just look at what activities you can participate in, whether it's picking up a hobby, or I know in particular, my daughter in Washington, DC, she started making masks for a nonprofit group, and she would make the mask and they would come pick it up. So it's something that rewards you, and that's my third tip. Find something that rewards you, but also rewards someone else. The way we start feeling good, sometimes when we get stuck, and the way we can sometimes get unstuck is to do something that rewards not just us, but others. Oh, Ingrid, that's awesome. Ingrid says she started taking online cooking classes. That's beautiful. So I would love to hear, Ingrid, drop me a note. I want to hear what kind of recipes are you doing. So if you're on Zoom or Facebook, please type in and tell me what kind of activities have you started undertaking to help you get through this COVID-19. And it's interesting that Ingrid said that because One thing that my daughter, my mother, and I have started, we love food. We are foodies. Oh, yes, we love our food. The reason why we travel is to meet wonderful people. We love the architecture, and we go for the food. So we started this thing where, we're starting this thing where we all cook because we love to cook, and we pick a particular ingredient, and all of us have to use that ingredient, and we judge each other based on your best presentation. So those are the easy rules of the game, because we can't taste each other's food. We'll wait for that for when we can see each other again. But it gives us a way to stay connected. It's something that rewards us. It connects us. It makes us feel wonderful. And it just keeps your mind in a positive space. And it reminds you that even though you are not physically with one another, you still can be mentally and in sight with one another. Joanne says she started a vegetable garden. Nice, Joanne. Tell me what vegetables have you put in your garden, because I'd love to hear that. My mother also started a vegetable garden. So what you doing, Joe?
Okay, I have spinach,
Ooh, vegetables.
onions,
Mm-hmm.
lettuce. I have parsley. I have tomatoes, and I have sweet and spicy basil.
Oh, you didn't start yourself a garden. You got yourself a mini farm. That is lovely. See, those.
I love watching it grow. I always wanted to do it. I always pick up these seeds and never do anything with it. So finally I said, well, what are we doing? Nothing. So let me go make it happen. And so in the last 3 weeks, I got action in my garden.
That's beautiful. Because isn't that what COVID-19 has done to us to some degree? That it allowed us to pick up things and think about things that we didn't make space for in our normal busy lives. So that's why I said there are always some benefits. There are always opportunities that come by way of a crisis. So we look at those activities and we see how, it can feed us. And for some people, it can be difficult because the structure that they've known is now gone. So I am a type A personality, and I love structure. I like structure, but I like flexibility too. I've gotten better. Your family will help you do that. I'm the person who would go on vacation, and before we left on vacation, I had done all the research to see what type of events was happening, what concerts were taking place. And so the entire schedule for those 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days, however long we were there, were all packed. That's a lot of structure. But I stopped doing that because I realized it was frustrating for everyone else, and it didn't make space for flexibility and spontaneity. So I hear you, Ingrid. I like it that way. Don't get me wrong. That is my preference. So what I have done is I keep the structure in place when it's only applicable to me, and when it's applicable to other people, then I moderate it and make a little bit more space for flexibility, because I don't want to push anyone away by trying to be so structured. So in this COVID environment, my tip number 4 is, if you're a person who likes structure, figure out what things can continue to create structure for you. So if you know that you're a morning person and there's a routine that you've always started, continue it. Because here's the thing. When this passes to change to something different, you will have to reactivate your routine. It may change slightly, right? You may have to adjust it some, but don't completely surrender what makes you comfortable, because that's going to give you more anxiety. That's going to give you more stress, because what you know as normal is no longer there. So the fact that I am working from home quite a little bit, and this is a tip for all of those of you who are working from home, if you're used to the structure, maintain the structure in your environment. If you got up early in the morning, keep doing it. If maybe now you have more time to not just have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, maybe you can just have a very nice breakfast along with that tea and that coffee. So maintain the structure that gives you the security, because In a crisis, you have to find as much things possible that will help you maintain that sense of calm in the wake of the unknown. By the same regard, here's the thing that's going to be tough for those folks who like structure like myself. You're going to be surprised that I'm saying this, right? Learn to go with the flow. Learn to go with the flow. And here is why. The harder you fight the flow, the more stress it creates for you. So today when my phone cracked, my initial thought was, oh, it's going to be fine. But when I pushed the button and I couldn't see a thing, I said, uh-oh, it's not so fine. And I started to feel a whole lot of stress. And the beautiful thing about the way God designed our bodies, he gave us warning signs. I could feel all that heat rising from my legs up through my arms to my head. And that's when I had to call myself out. I said, you need to take a time out. There is nothing that I could do to change that situation, right? So part of that tip is know when to go with the flow, especially when things are in a place that you cannot move them temporarily. Just because it's not movable today or at that moment or at this particular moment doesn't mean the solution is not going to come. Because here's the thing. Sometimes situations come to make us be still so that while you are taking a time out, other things are working themselves out in the background. I know I'm going to get another phone. I didn't have anything planned that I could not take care of without that phone. Not one thing. So it's a matter of pulling back and really saying to yourself, okay, is this mission critical? Is it going to stop me from being able to accomplish the things that are most important to me? No, it's not. So even when you enjoy structure so much, you have to create balance. That's why there's the yin and the yang, right? There's the plus and a minus. It's all for the sake of balance. So too much structure will confine your ability to be able to be open to new opportunities, to be creative and innovative, and to be welcoming to change. Because for many of us, change is like a 6-letter cuss word. That's CHANGE, I can't stand it. It causes so much disruption for us, but we can minimize the disruption when we learn to go with the flow. Does that make sense for you? Is there anyone that struggles a lot with the ability to go with the flow? Share with me if you struggle with the ability to go with the flow. I know I did for a long time, right? Because what my life had taught me was every time I had a plan and an A plan and a B plan and a backup plan, I had so many plans, that worked for me. It worked for me. But here's the thing, we're living in this world with more than just me and you. We have lots of people that share this space with us. So we have to learn to kind of go with the flow as long as it's not causing more disruption or such an ability to be able to take control. Joanne, what do you want to share?
Yeah, I have a problem with flow. I've always had. It's just like you. It's like I need to be in control. As I've gotten older, I'm realizing that I don't have to be in control of a whole lot of stuff. You know, it's just like when Ingrid said, when you go on vacation, you got to know what's going on. I want to know what's going on. I just cannot. I have friends who can just say, hey, whatever it happens, it happens. I'm with it. That's just not me.
Yeah.
I'm very uncomfortable. It makes me scared that I don't know what's coming, and more scared that I'm not in control.
Yeah. And you know, I'm so glad you said it that way because it is an issue of control, but I had to make a mind shift. So think about it this way. When you have been in a situation where something unplanned, unexpected, spontaneous happened, and it brought you joy, didn't it feel good? Yeah, it felt really
Yes, it did. It did.
right? It felt good. So I make myself think about those instances, and I can name one between you and I. You were just in Jamaica the other year. You came here on the boat. You called me. You had docked over there in Freeport. I made my way down, and we hadn't seen each other in years. And we ran to each other, hugged each other. We almost knocked each other over.
They thought we were Celie and Nettie. We hadn't seen each other in about, the last time we see each other, it was about we saw each other in 2011. So I was there in 2019. So it was, yeah.
That's a long time.
Well, we talked, but we hadn't seen each other.
We had not seen each other. So I make myself remember the moments where the unexpected happened, and I was so thrilled. I was so excited about it. And then the other thing I think about is, I am so often saying, I am tired of having to do all this stuff by myself, making all the decisions. So I need to find some comfort in letting somebody else do it so that I can drop my shoulder, right? I can drop my shoulders. James says that he struggles with it as well. And I can imagine that with all those years of being in the military, I'm going to say this, so James, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe he retired as like a master sergeant. I'm an ex-military spouse, and I try to remember, but what I do remember for sure is he had more bars and commendations and all. So he spent a lot of time in the military. And when you're in an environment that is all about the SOP, you know, the military, no matter what you're trying to do, they have a standard operating procedure for what you want to do. If we had just given this to the military, this COVID-19, we'd have this thing sorted out because it's a process. So there is a struggle if that has defined your life for a long time. But I'm glad to hear that he says he's gotten off his routine of being an early riser and learning to just kind of stay in bed, because then it allows you to kind of lean back and relax. You know, you spend plenty money on that mattress, that box spring, and those sheets. So why don't you lay there and enjoy it for a minute? Just enjoy it. Because I know when I wake up, the minute my eyes are open, my brain is moving, thinking about what I need to do. That's that control coming in again, right? It's that control coming in. So it's a matter of deciding when is the right time to use the routine and go back to it if you have to, you know, James, that's okay. Go back to it when it's necessary, but remember that you give yourself space to let it go so that you can invite something new and something wonderful into your life to create the balance. Because those of us who are control freaks and feel like we always have to have order, that's stressful in and of itself. Because the other thing that happens is when things are in disorder, we don't manage well. So that was one of the major reasons why I had to learn to relax more, because the lack of structure would cause me to go in a bit of a tailspin. So going with the flow lets you create the balance if you're a person who enjoys structure, and the opposite, if you're a person who always is about lack of structure and just going with the flow, then create some structure so that you have more balance in your life. My next tip is, this stuff is tough. It is really tough. Every day we are waiting on a positive result. We hear all these medical facilities, pharmaceutical companies racing to come up with a cure. Every state, depending on where you live, there are different laws that govern how things are being done. So it's a lot of what's called VUCA, right? There's vulnerability, there's uncertainty in place. We're very vulnerable because we don't know what's next. There's uncertainty because we're waiting for answers on how we are to move ourselves forward. There's complexity. This is a complex problem. It's not like it's something where we can just say 1 + 3 and we get 4, right? And so when we're looking at those types of scenarios, sometimes you got to just give yourself space to enjoy something a little extra special. Do something nice for yourself. so that it kicks in those good feelings and takes you out of this space. Especially if you live alone, this is probably even more difficult for you because there's not someone in that same space that you can talk to on a regular basis as you go through this experience. So I say, indulge in your guilty pleasure every now and again. Indulge in your guilty pleasure. I'm a person who doesn't watch a lot of TV, but one thing that I have discovered is I like Netflix. I found some very, very interesting stories on Netflix. I love the documentaries. I love the food challenges, so I have indulged in the guilty pleasure of just binging out on a particular TV show and just watching episode after episode after episode after episode after episode, knowing that I will probably not have this opportunity again. I won't have it again. So allow yourself that flexibility to indulge in something that brings you pleasure and brings you joy that may not be something that you originally, or in normal circumstances would find acceptable, or something you would do. So are any of you indulging in a guilty pleasure? Or what is your guilty pleasure? I would love to hear if anyone has a guilty pleasure. It may be a food. A lot of people love to indulge in different types of foods. And I know some of us are struggling with managing our diet and our weight. I get it. I totally get it, but everything in moderation. Ingrid, what's your guilty pleasure?
Oh, diet has been out of the window totally. I ain't worried about no diet right now. But I found a recipe for a blueberry sour cream coffee cake that I have made 4 times.
Ooh.
And I keep saying, I need to quit doing this. I'm like, I got to get it just right. And it's so good. And so I just let myself go there.
Mm-hmm. These are extreme circumstances, and I am not trying to tell people to do things that are going to harm you. But if you indulge in that, say that what is blueberry
sour cream coffee cake.
Wow.
Isn't that nice? Does everybody want that recipe? Everyone wants.
It's so good.
Ingrid is a part of an organization called Divas United, which was founded by my amazing friend Joanne Tulper Yancey, who's on this call. So Joanne and her organization, they do a retreat every year, and they pick a different location. So they were in Jamaica most recently, and so Ingrid is in the Georgia area. So Ingrid, when I come back home, you know what I'm going to say, right?
She wants the blueberries, Ingrid.
Thank you very much for filling in the blank for me. I'm going to call it my post-birthday gift.
That's fine. It'll keep me from eating it.
Oh yeah, we can share it together, and if you feel like you don't want to take the extra bite, I'll take it for you. Because here's the thing, I know myself, I'm going to get back on a routine that's going to cause me to get my body back in shape, right? And that's the thing that you have to remind yourself, that even if you are indulging at this particular time, because these are extraordinary circumstances, make sure you have a game plan for how you're going to get yourself back in order. And it can be simple. For me, the exercises that I have loved, I walk in the evening because I have completely abandoned trying to get up early in the morning. I'm just not going out there anymore at 6 o'clock and 7 because I don't have to. So I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not going to guilt myself because everybody in my neighborhood is walking up and down the hill and the mountain and, wee hours in the morning, and I'm saying I should be with them. I go in the evening. Mm-hmm. I go in the evening. And then I do the videos where people are dancing. Those lines, that is more exercise. That is beautiful for me. It is, so long as you have variety, you can go ahead and compensate and make up for that blueberry, coffee cake. What's your guilty pleasure, Joanne?
Those who follow me on the Facebook friend know that I post a lot of recipes, and know that every recipe that I post, I've tried. Okay? And I'm telling y'all, just like Ingrid, I'm telling you, my butt is wide as Buck Jones' horse right about now. But you know what? I don't care. Now, Jewel, you go and do it in the evening walk, but I have to walk in the morning on an empty stomach, 6:45, 6:30, 6:45. I go and I get it done. But just, like cooking and I went back to what I used to do all the time, and that was sew. I'm real good at that. And I forgot how good I was. And so
wow.
in the business, just busy. So I'm redecorating, my whole house right now.
And I have seen some of the work that you have done, and it's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. But isn't that going to be such a rewarding story to tell at the end of this journey?
Yeah.
Right? Because if we've had 2 to 3 months, and for some people it will be longer, it's really important that we come out of this being able to say that we got something good from it, that we did take the obstacle and turn it into an opportunity. Every Sunday I cook my guilty pleasure is I indulge in creating this really nice fancy meal on Sunday with a glass of wine, and it's from a different country every Sunday.
Wow.
Yes, it may be Mediterranean food, it may be Spanish food, and that's something I would never spend time doing normally because I just don't have time to do it under normal circumstances. So indulging in your guilty pleasure is going to help you manage your stress in a way that, it makes you feel good about your situation. It makes you feel good about something that you're eating. It just brings you pleasure in a way that you wouldn't normally get because of these challenging, this challenging situation that we're facing. My friend Rene Gadbois, I love Rene. He's from Haiti. Rene came to the United States a long time ago, several years back. And when he came to the United States from Haiti, he couldn't even speak English, y'all. He could not speak English. During his time of being here, he learned to speak English while he was working as a bellman at one of the hotels in Atlanta. The beautiful part about what he did was he took the opportunity of having the job of a bellman. Every time somebody who was notable that came through that door, notable or not notable, he asked them one question. Is there one tip that you can give me about success? And of course, people, very warm and willing to share the information. They had no idea that he was taking notes. He was journaling and just putting all the pieces of that puzzle together while he was trying to figure out how he got over the obstacles of being in this new country, learning this new language, learning how to find a job and keep that job, but get more than what he has as a job. And I talk a lot about that in my book is, are you working a job or are you building a career? And in his mind, he was working on building a career. And over the years, Rene got to a place where he became a very well-known motivational speaker, so much so that the city of Smyrna named a day after him. Talking about taking an obstacle and turning it into an opportunity, that is one of the best stories that I've ever heard. And he wrote this book that's titled, No Condition is Permanent. And I love the title of his book and this whole village of amazing friends that I have, because I draw on that. His says no condition is permanent. Joanne says, what dreams are you sitting on? This is the time for you to activate your innovation, to activate that desire that's burning inside of you that's just been sitting and simmering and just settling below the surface because you didn't have time or couldn't make space for it. But you got it now. You got all that now. You have all of the opportunity, the time, the space, notebook, paper, put your fingers on the keys of that laptop, call the people within your network. That's my last tip that I'm going to leave you with. You need to make sure that you call on your village. Maximize the relationships that you have within your network to get you through. Because I can't count, because I only have 10 fingers. I cannot count how many times I have sat on the phone giggling with Joanne, or talking about my dreams with Tina, or just sharing time on Zoom, or whether it's a WhatsApp call with my daughter and my mother. Our relationships have changed exponentially in such a way that I'm thankful for how I'm using this time. And I want you to be thankful for how you use it as well. And realize that stress comes, but stress doesn't mean that it has to conquer you. You have to conquer stress. You have the tools in your toolbox that you need. And if you feel like it is absent of a particular tool, then that's when you go to your village, you go to your network, and you beg and borrow a little bit of what they know to get you through to the other side. So I am so glad I have had this time with you all. I said that I was going to come on for about 45 minutes. I just feel like this is a great time for us to be able to share our own experiences and to connect in this kind of a way. And so when I wrote this book, Three Sides of Every Crisis, it was really about helping people understand this journey, whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you are a professional, or perhaps you like Deborah, who has retired. Deborah shared with me that she's retired and she's spending time with her sons right now. And I'm just so jelly, as the kids say. Or my daughter might be saying, Mommy, that phrase is old school, but I'm old school. Jealous because it's her time, but I know my time is coming soon. So when my time comes, I know I can call Deborah and ask her for some advice, because it's going to be a shift. It's going to be adjustment. And even when something good happens, stress shows up because it's different. So as we close out tonight, all of you, please stay safe, stay healthy, and stay in prayer. Thank you, my friends. Take care.